It's one job I never had, bellboy. Had every other job. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Come in. Don't separate yourself on the outskirts. There's plenty of room. Don't be a gringo. Okay, what would you like to talk about? Or otherwise do.
Swamiji, Aiden has a question. Aiden, could you go to the mic, please?
Malini, you shared a couple satsangs ago that you felt you were trapped in your body. And similarly, pretty recently I've felt that I've been trapped, but in a different way. I feel like I'm trapped in my skewed perception of reality. Like I'm just so tired of this viewpoint, of this limited viewpoint of reality, which includes these like just tired, the same old judgments, the same prejudices, the same fears. It's like just keeps going on and on and on. And just so, and you talk about, each human being is such a limited viewpoint on reality, and it's all skewed by many different things, conditioning, where we were raised, and if we're male or female, and
all of that's conditioning.
All of that's conditioning. Is there ever a point? Well, let me ask: does it have to do anything with attachment? I just want to know: does it ever get to a point where you can actually have a more universal viewpoint, or is if you're always as long as you're in this human form, it's always going to be skewed?
No, higher consciousness is an expanded viewpoint. It has nothing to do with being in a body per se. But if you feel limited by the body, limited by the mind, limited by your desires, then you know what the conditionings that have to be paid attention to and worked on, what aspect or dimension they're about.
Okay.
Viewpoint is all conditioning. It's not that you're in a body, it's that you're in a body that you have fixed ideas about. It's a male body, it's an American body, it's a doll body. It's this way or that way. It's all made up. It's all dreamt. When you're agitated during a dream and you wake up, you're immediately not agitated. If you feel trapped in your body during a dream, as soon as you wake up, you don't feel trapped, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just as much a dream. You're dreaming this body, so you're dreaming this feeling of trapped.
Yeah, well, it's not so much the body, even though the body is part of it. It's just the mental construct.
You're dreaming this mental construct. You're dreaming all of it. You're creating every bit of it. It's your dream. So you can do whatever you want with your dream. The best thing to do is to try to wake up from it. Because while you're in the dream and it seems real and you don't know you're dreaming, you take everything very seriously. You won't magically wake up from the dream when you die. You'll just continue dreaming in the bodiless state. There's only two possibilities. You're imagining it or you're perceiving reality. It's only at the very end of the journey that the latter is the truth. Until then, you're just trading up for better and better dreams.
Kind of seems like, what's the point? Why live?
The point is, here you are.
Yeah, I mean, just like, why miss so much of life, the reality of life, up until the very end?
Yeah, that's why I say decondition. Because you can get much more close to the reality long before you're in the final leg of the journey. And I've also told you just yesterday, because we have an event yesterday, whenever we had our last event, Wednesday, I told everybody, that even your most profound spiritual experiences are still part of the dream stage. The mistake almost everybody makes is they're so different, and they're so profound, and they have such a different feel to them, and they seem like a completely superior reality that we say, uh-oh, I did it. I hit at least part of the real reality. No, you just did the higher level dreaming, where instead of dreaming of little thatched houses, you're dreaming of big castles. Instead of dreaming you're poor, you dream you're rich. But what's the difference? It's all a dream. So it's not pointless, because here you are. How are you going to get out? To say it's pointless is to say there's no way for me to wake up. But that's what all of spiritual life is. How to come out of the dream. The dream is supported by everything other than spiritual life and other than the guru. All other people support the dream. All other situations reinforce the dream. So no wonder it takes eons. But what are you going to do? You just keep dreaming in the meantime and say there's nothing I can do about it? I can't wake up? You try to wake up. So that you don't have to be a dreamer. So you can actually perceive from the godly perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so frustrating, because I know it's very evident that I'm not perceiving from that.
So don't be frustrated. I told you just the other day that if discipleship comes into your life, you're in the last leg of the journey. You should be thrilled. It's like you've been running 100 million miles and you're in the last 5 miles. That's usually when we complain the most, because your legs are tired. That's usually when we want to give up, because we don't know how close we are to the finish. But you have no right to complain because you've given no real effort toward deconditioning. You have the disadvantage of you live with me, so I know what you do and don't do, and you have not taken deconditioning seriously. And then you want to complain. I know I'm not perceiving right. Well, the way at the stage most of us are at to perceive better is more and more self-deconditioning. To get out of these conceptual ideas, I'm an American, I'm old, I'm young, I'm stupid, I'm smart. My judgments are real, my thoughts are meaningful, my emotions matter. They're all good, they're all necessary, they're all part of the human experience, they're all part of life. But you have to see what's higher and more significant, which you do. But it hasn't motivated you or goaded you into doing the real heavy-duty deconditioning work. So until you do that, you can't complain. Because if you do that, then you'll have something to complain about because you'll see how hard it is. And you'll say, this is so hard. How come this is so hard? Because anything worth doing is usually difficult. You're behind. It takes 10 or 20 years to seriously decondition with all your focus on it. You haven't started that process of committing yourself to the deconditioning. Your thought process continues to be your guide. Well, that's gonna sooner or later cause complaints. But don't have the thought or say to yourself, because I haven't gotten far enough, it can't be done. You haven't tried hard enough.
Okay.
This is all made up stuff. These complaints are made up. If you're born into a dream world, there's nothing wrong with dreaming. This is where you are. The whole world conspires and tells you the waking state is real and everything else is dreamlike or represents some other kind of experience thing, but it's all a dream. Literally. So if you saw reality as it is, suddenly you'd explode. Your brain would, blood would come out your ears, including brain matter. You wouldn't be able to handle it because it's so wildly different from your daily experience. So it has to be approached gradually, but seriously. You have to work on it diligently. All methods fall under two categories: meditation or love. Those are the methods. There's 10,000 methods under each category, but they all sort out in those two major categories. Now, you should do meditation just in case. There's very few gurus ever in history who don't recommend daily meditation because you want to hedge your bets. You don't want to take a chance that it's enough to count on love and that'll get you there. So you do both. But you at least do meditation. So that you start having inner perception instead of only outer directed perception. And then you're already closer. People complain I'm not getting anywhere, and then you ask them, are you doing a meditation? And they say, not really. You know, that's like buying a year-long gym membership but never going. You really can't complain that you're not more toned and muscular. You didn't go. Buying the membership doesn't do a thing except make you think you're going to go. You still have to make yourself go. You're going to have to struggle with this, everybody. You're going to have to struggle with the radical, revolutionary, against everyone else on the planet message that I give you, that this is all a dream. Nobody's going to agree with that. Nobody else you talk to is going to agree with that. They're going to feel offended. They're going to feel like you lost your mind. But there isn't a mystic or a master in all of history who wouldn't agree with that. There's nothing wrong with being in the dream state. That's where we all find ourselves. The key is to understand you don't have to stay there. But if you won't even accept or consider it very seriously for a long time that what you've been so forcefully told and taught and educated and inculcated and brainwashed is real, if you can't accept that that's completely false, if you can't entertain that possibility, then there's no way to wake up. You have to entertain the possibility and then try to see it for yourself and feel into it. That there's two kinds of dreams, the ones that happen at night and the ones that happen when you're wide awake during the day. They're just a different level of intensity. The one during the day is more intense, and you've been told it's real, so you don't see it as a dream. You've been told the ones at night are a dream, so you don't have any issue with that. But you've been told the ones during the day aren't, and that's the problem, because they are. So, and they're quite related. It's not two different dream processes. The dream process is the dream process. It doesn't matter if it's in the waking state or the sleeping state. Dreaming is dreaming. It means you're making it up. You're writing the script, directing the production, and playing all the roles. When you're asleep and you have a dream that involves a lot of different activities and people, you don't argue after you wake up and you remember it. Somebody says, well, you know, your mind created that. So if there were 44 characters in your dream, you know, if they were medieval characters and Neanderthal characters and flying dragons, and your mind created that. You don't argue with that. You completely accept that. During the dream, it seemed real, but once you wake up, and if somebody reminds you, that was all in your mind, you don't say, no, it wasn't. There was something real in it. There was something substantial in it that isn't part of dreaming. You don't say that. You say, yeah, my mind made it all up. Those dragons were in my mind. Just like writing a story. I just didn't know I was doing it. It's called dreaming. It's very hard to accept that you're doing that right now. But you're in a better position because now you're writing me into the script. And my job is to push you from the inside to wake up. Everybody else you have in the script, their job is to make sure you stay asleep. You messed up and put me in the script. The one character who's not interested in you staying asleep. So you'll complain when I throw cold water on you. Non-attachment gets really easy. Letting go of identifications gets really easy. Working intently on deconditioning gets really easy if you fully accept that you're dreaming right now and every second of your life. If you accept that all the way and start to see and feel the truth of it, intuitively, mentally, in every way, all these spiritual requirements that seem so almost impossible suddenly look very doable. It's not hard to give up attachment to anything if you know it's a dream. If you have a strong identification with being a man or being a Frenchman or being a Russian or being educated or whatever, if you have a strong identification, if you know you're dreaming it and you really accept that, it's not hard to give up that identification and say, oh, I'll identify myself as something completely different, or I just won't bother identifying myself as anything. But these are very difficult when you think they're real, because then it seems like you're tearing part of your skin out and throwing it in the trash, or you're cutting off your own hand and throwing it out the window. But you're not. You're just changing the text of your dream. This is why non-seriousness is always the recommended approach. What's there to be serious about if you're just dreaming? There are people who are having way better dreams than you are, no question. And there are people having way worse ones. It's a question of spiritual maturity and how much you're fooled. And the easiest way to not be fooled is to entertain the possibility of what I'm saying. Entertain the possibility that this could be true. It makes a lot more sense than what you've been told is true. What you've been told is true is you're here at random. It's a chaotic universe. Started with some kind of big bang that happened, who knows why. The only big bang that started was the one between your mom and your dad. That's how you got here. That's how they came up with the big bang, because they're confused. Unless you're a test tube baby, the big bang is very real, but it isn't what they mean by the big bang. And they no longer call it, if you'll notice, they don't refer to it anymore like they used to routinely as the Big Bang Theory. They talk about it as if it's no longer a theory, but it's still a theory. It's the nuttiest theory they ever came up with. Out of nowhere, there was nothing. Out of nowhere, something just exploded. And it's been exploding out, fanning out ever since. And that's what all this is, and that's how you got here. What a ridiculous explanation. I mean, can you see how nuts this is? Makes much more sense to consider the explanation that you're a divine being and you're a spirit and you're dreaming that you're something else. That's a lot more logical and rational than you're part of some local fireworks display that accidentally resulted in a genetic conflagration that made creatures. And then you evolved out of that from the mud. That doesn't give you much credit. You're basically a frog with a high school degree. You never think it through. Nobody encourages you to think it through, only the guru. Everybody encourages you to never think it through, because to do so kind of suggests you're insane, or at least stupid. But remember, the majority opinion is almost always stupid, because it statistically tends toward the lowest common denominator. The stupidest people with the stupidest ideas have the most weight of where the groupthink ends up. It gravitates toward the bottom, not towards the top. This is the gravity planet, so it gravitates down. The spiritual realm is the opposite. Things rise. Things levitate. Things move toward what's higher. But when you're talking about the group mentality, you're talking about what goes lower and lower and lower. Think less and be rational more. Don't try to analyze your way through it. Just be more rational. Look how silly many of the things you've been told are. The things you're told between 0 and 5. Look how ridiculous they are if you think them through. God lives in heaven. He sits on a gold throne. He has a long beard. He likes to wear a flowing gown. And he's watching over everything. That's the voyeur concept of God. He's kind of voyeuristic. He likes to watch. And you're just his entertainment. This is crazy talk that takes no scientific account into observing anything real, meaning what is observable in existence, and beyond what's intuitable, beyond what can be observed. But even the observation doesn't happen. They figured out how to make nuclear bombs, but they didn't figure out how to see more clearly. So the track record isn't good because nobody's thinking rationally. The history of humanity is a history of irrationality. If you can't see that, you're not trying at all. If you're still believing in the lie of progress, then you're not looking at the facts. That's not negative. That's not cynical. That's there for anybody to see. The history is very negative. People killing each other over nothing, over ideas, and over emotional overreactions, and all kinds of imagined things. But when you're dreaming, are your dreams mostly rational, or do wacky things happen that you don't see in daily life? So why do you assume that what's happening in daily life isn't just as wacky? You have nothing to compare it to, that's why. You compare it to dreams, which are, your defenses are not in play, so things happen that seem surreal. Things happen that can't happen seemingly in daily life. But it's not true. That's your setting limits without realizing it and saying this can't happen, that can't happen. All you need is one experience to show you piercing through the truer reality, the deeper reality. Usually for most people who become disciples, that's the guru. But it can be a different kind of experience. If you, with your own eyes, even one time saw a man change his form into a cow right before your eyes, then back into a man, your whole view of this would change. You'd no longer believe that this table is so solid. But for most genuine, sincere disciples, the advent and presence of the guru crashing into their life serves the same purpose, because it's impossible. It seems impossible. How can this be? I'm a normal, intelligent person. How could I become a disciple of anybody? That's just as outlandish as seeing a man change himself into a cow or an eagle and fly away. There are people who can do that. That's just a yogic power. There are people who go by on flying carpets. It isn't the carpet that can fly, it's the person. The carpet is just so you won't freak out. The person just going with nothing, and you see a carpet, well, what's going on up there? The carpet's just for your comfort. So it's a little less jarring for you. It's just a tradition in the eastern part of the world. If you're going to fly, use a carpet. You know, you can put your cell phone on it. Your bottle of water. Otherwise, you need lots of pockets. If you're flying, things fall out. So, you know, it's good to have a little carpet. But if you don't think this whole thing, if you think this flying carpet business is a myth, you're too stuck in mental conceptualization. Flying carpets are, there have been countless people who can do that. And there are countless people on the planet right now who can do it. They just know enough not to show you or show conventional people, because they know what'll happen. They'll be crucified quickly, put to death quickly, branded something, and harmed quickly. They know enough to stay out of your sight. They fly, but they don't fly when you're around. So you're told that all of this is ancient superstition, and the progress is we know now it's superstition. What's happened is people have become dumber. They no longer accept the reality that is the divine reality. In the divine reality, there's no problem flying. They accept it if it's an airplane. How's that any less divinely miraculous than flying without an airplane? What's the difference? So people figured out how to fly without a carpet and without yogic powers. They figured out how to do it by getting into a machine and air currents and whatever. So what? That's the proof right there that people can fly. You've accepted that, but you won't accept a wider view. So deconditioning includes taking all that off the table. You know that trick when there's a fully spread table and then the old-time waiter comes in and with one whoosh takes the tablecloth off and everything stays in place. That's how you have to do it. Or that's the point you have to get to, where the whole thing is just removed. The whole underpinning is removed. You're open to anything. I don't know if instead of saying people can't fly, you say, I don't know. And you mean it. Instead of saying a man can't turn himself into an elephant, you say, I've never seen it, but that doesn't mean it can't happen. I don't know. I have no experience with it. I have no direct knowledge of it. But that's not what people say. They say, that's impossible. Look how closed-minded. Look how brainwashed. I guarantee you there are many, many people on the planet right now who can at will change themselves into an elephant and back again. That's not crazy talk. The crazy talk is, that's impossible. That's crazy talk. You've just been taught that so early and so strongly that you count on it, you bank on it, and you believe it with your heart and soul. But it's just a belief. It's just a set of ideas. It's just a belief system. There's things people can do, and there's things people can't do. They can't change themselves into a mountaintop, and they can't fly. They can't go underwater and walk on the seabed for 5 hours. But there are people who can do all these things. And every time it's proven, they just say it was a trick. So this is all self-fulfilling. Those few times when it's proven beyond any shadow of a doubt, they say it's a myth. The people who were there were hypnotized, who saw it are all hypnotized. They're very convenient explanations for waving everything away that doesn't fit with the prior brainwashed conceptualization. You have to do better. You have to not let yourself be fooled so easy by things you were told when you were 1, 2, 3, and 4. You don't remember the first time you were told nobody can fly on a magic carpet, but you were told. And you were too young to not be able to say, well, I don't know, I'd rather entertain that it might be possible. You were too young to have that stance. Oh, okay, I get it. Kid, that's a made-up thing. But now your whole life is based on all of these ideas. Whoosh, you just remove the whole thing and start with a clean slate. I don't know, and anything's possible. That's the only intelligent position. But it helps to see a man change himself into something else. It helps to meet somebody who has flesh and blood, watch them sit on the carpet and then go 20 feet into the air without any trick. It helps, but you'll probably never get that opportunity. So for most people, the shock of the guru appearing serves the purpose. It certainly did for me. That shocked me more than anything else I could possibly ever see. I'll never get over the shock of the first moment. So, God has ways that don't necessarily involve impressing you with some thing that your mind will say is a trick. And remember, the final argument is always, well, some people have the ability to mass hypnotize or to hypnotize you without you realizing it. Just with their look, they can plant things in your head and you can be seeing something that isn't there. That's the final rejection, always. If they can't think of any other way to convince you, then they'll just resort to, well, you need to accept that you're hypnotized. Some people do have that ability, and that's what happened. That's the only rational explanation. No, you know what your eyes saw, what your ears heard, and you're not stupid. You can't be hypnotized by a look. But you accept that because you've been primed to accept that explanation as the final debunking. So deconditioning is the essential factor that's missing for most of you. You haven't entered into a serious bout of ongoing deconditioning yourself so that your mind actually starts to expand. Your range of what you're willing to accept as possible and what you feel and see for yourself as, I actually don't know. I've just been filled with these explanations and they don't hold water. Once you're there, it starts moving in a way better direction and much more quick, but none of you are there. Because no matter how much you feel yourself dissolving or how much you feel you're not separate from existence or anything else, you still must do the deconditioning. And many of you are thinking, rightly, I'm so advanced in certain ways spiritually that I'm past that stage. But you're wrong about that, because you have to do it anyway. Many of you are advanced spiritually, but you skipped this unskippable stage, this unskippable task. So you need to go back and get it done. Because Prasad is such a kind-hearted person, he developed a course for deconditioning he's going to announce shortly. So it's only a 3-week course just to get you kick-started, and you'd be smart to take it. I don't want to do it, so it's a lot of work. So he asked me to do it. I said, I'm not doing it. It's too much work for somebody my age. So, because the resistance in you is, I'm not going to deal with it. So he's young. So he said, well, I'll do it. I said, good. They need it. They need the direct help. I keep telling you to do it, but I don't see you doing it. So, and if I was in a position to design a curriculum that helped you with it, I would do it, but it's too late for that. I'm not in a position to do that at this stage of life. So Prasad and his elves will have to take care of that if it's wanted, or if he sees the need and the benefit. But I'm going to stick to my method of reminding you constantly that you have to decondition yourself, because even if somebody helps decondition you in big ways, you still have to do the brunt of it inside yourself, with yourself. You can be assisted, but nobody can do it for you. There's pieces that the guru does. Just by being the guru and the guru function operating, there's pieces that dislodge in you. And that's the guru's assistance when it comes to deconditioning. But the brunt of it, you have to do. It's like excavation. You have to find all the silly notions that have been pumped into you and start pumping them out. Get them out of your system so that you become a really rational person who's willing to consider all possibilities, not just the ones you were conditioned into before the age of 3. You know, before the Wright brothers, you may not know this, a little trivia thing of history. Shanti's already shaking her head because she remembers the Wright brothers. They used to go over to her house.
Popcorn.
That's before they invented flight, and they were more called the Wrong brothers. But before the Wright brothers, before actual flight was demonstrated, the majority, it's the same as like the earth is flat. The majority of people in the world said it will never happen. Man isn't meant to fly. And they can keep experimenting. They can keep trying. They can keep building experimental machines that they think will do it. They can keep copying and analyzing the way birds fly and flying creatures. But it'll never happen because it's not in God's plan. It's not how it's meant to be. If man was meant to fly, he would have been born with wings. And that was the attitude of most of the world. Most of the world was completely closed and completely closed-minded toward the notion of humanity or human beings figuring out a way through a flying vehicle for human beings to be able to fly in the air. Most people just said it's utter nonsense. They can keep trying for tens of thousands of years more. It'll never happen. That was the prevailing attitude of very intelligent, educated people. It was attitude of uneducated people and educated people. It was the attitude of stupid people and it was the attitude of smart people. It was a vast majority. And then one morning, when they were able to prove it, took off for 18 seconds from the ground. They all had to switch. Which happens really quickly because nobody wants to feel the fool. They say, oh, they didn't say, oh, look how I was adamant. That turns out I was wrong. They say, wow, amazing. They figured it out. And they kind of pretend to themselves that they never had this super negative attitude of it can't be done. They forget it instantly. This is the human way. The human mind fools itself so easy, so readily, so without effort. Every human being is a world-class expert at fooling yourself. There's no other creature that can do it. Chameleons and creatures that blend in with the environment, they're not fooling themselves, they're fooling their predators. They still know they're a chameleon. But you actually fool yourself. You tell yourself you're great when you're acting awful. You tell yourself you're really intelligent and rational when you're thinking foolish. You're just constantly making stuff up. You're unwilling to look at the facts. That's what spiritual life is, developing the ability and willingness to look at the facts. The rest of the world's not interested in facts. They're interested in prior ideas. And prior ideas are the opposite of facts because they're pre-accepted as so they're never questioned. And they're mostly made up, as the Wright brothers proved. You'll see when you're dead. You'll see things that will make absolutely no sense to you and will be overwhelmingly challenging because they aren't possible and they don't represent anything you're familiar with, and then you'll get a little weirded out because you won't be able to make sense of it. You won't be able to know what's next. It'll not be sequential. You're used to misinterpreting life and existence as sequential, as logical, and that doesn't exist. That's just mental arrangement superimposed. And when you're dead and you notice that you still are there, things will start coming to you and coming into your vision and your visual field and your perception of whatever you are perceiving as the environment you're in now, but it'll be bodiless. And it'll be a completely different experience than this. But you won't remember this, so you'll just know that, wow, I don't know what this is. But that's the situation you're in now. You've just been led to convince yourself that you know what this is. You have to admit you don't. You can't account for anything. You don't know how or why your heart beats. You don't know how or why anything happens. But you've been conditioned to believe that you do and to perceive that you do. So you spun this story out of it that makes complete sense to you. And then you say, well, I'm stuck in this story. I want to see more expansively. Well, tear up the story. Burn the story. Have no story. And you'll start to see things you've never imagined. What's a dream? A story. You want to stop dreaming. Stop believing in stories. Don't expect a story. But easier said than done. Remember, existence and life are not synonymous. Life is just a little part of existence, and human life is just a little part of life. So there's so much, it's so vast, it's so endless, it's so eternal, it's so infinite, that you're clinging to the local and to the perceived as if it was some kind of position of safety, and it's only the position of delusion. Move toward the infinite, move toward the eternal. It'll scare you to death, but that'll be moving toward reality. It'll shake you up in ways you don't want to be shook up. It'll make you vomit. It'll make you feel like you're losing your mind or about to die, but you must go through this. There's no other way. You can't break up an ice flow by keeping it in one piece. You got to break it up. It's got to flow out. It's got to move away. It's a very, very terrifying, horrifying, difficult, painful process for anyone and everyone. But that's what surrender is. Accepting the necessity of it and saying yes to it. And then allowing it. Without expectations and knowing there's no guarantee. And you'll get very, very terrified if you have any progress or any success with it. So if you get terrified, take it as a good sign. If you don't get terrified, that means you're still imagining stuff. Not terrified that the dream has become a nightmare, terrified that it isn't what you're familiar with. That's why it's called the unknown. If you are not willing to go directly into the unknown, then you'll continue to dream constantly. Waking up from the dream is entering the unknown. Because so far, all you know about is dreams. There's traditional ashrams where they used to do this. I don't know if they still do it anyway. They probably do, but part of what they do is every ashramite, or they do this in some monasteries too. In the middle of the night, somebody's job is to go around with a bucket of water and throw cold water at everybody. 2 a.m., they're sound asleep. Just to give them the experience of the shock and the waking up experience, and to show them how everything in them complains and resists and doesn't like it. As a reminder that, and you won't like the spiritual waking up either. You think it means you'll become a Buddha and you'll be enlightened. No, you'll be terrified. You'll feel like you're being annihilated. You'll feel like somebody is waking you up unfairly in the middle of the night with cold water. You'll say, stop it. What the fuck is the matter with you? Leave me alone. That's what you'll say. That's the human reaction. You want me to throw water on you every night when you're asleep? I'm usually up way later than you. I don't mind. If I get the sense you've fallen asleep, I'm happy to come in and throw ice water, just a little bit, in your face. See, you're not even willing for that. I just proved to you why you have no right to complain. You're not even willing for that little helpful technique. Okay.
So Manya has a question.
Is there any other people?
Just Manya.
I just wanted to know, manage the time.
Go ahead, Manya.
I have a perception this week or so that is one that seeing how clearly my perception, all of my perception. So everything I'm perceiving is incorrect, and everything is perception. And I know you talked a lot about that.
That's not incorrect. It just isn't real. Incorrect has a hint of a value judgment in it. There's no reason to go there. It just isn't real.
Yeah, so like I don't know I'm perceiving correctly when in fact, but the perceiving them to be real.
Yeah, but you're personalizing it too much. I'm not perceiving what's real, and I'm perceiving incorrectly. This is all self-judgment. Just say I'm in the dream condition, and that's not. I'm not to blame for that. I didn't do that. That's where I find myself. If it's the middle of the night, you find yourself in the dream. There's nothing to blame yourself for. But why haven't I woken myself up yet? It doesn't work like that. Easier said than done.
So anyway, it's just related to talking about.
Don't judge yourself for dreaming. Don't condemn yourself or criticize yourself for dreaming, because you're in the same boat as everybody else. It's a rare handful who find their way beyond the dream state. So your time hasn't come yet.
And I guess even still, I feel like I'm gonna find it.
Manya, we have a lot of echo when you try using a headset or perhaps
Can you try some telepathy?
Yeah, it's okay.
Malini has a question. Malini, could you go to the question, please?
Last Sunday's workshop was very powerful in the sense it brought up a lot of stuff, and for me the workshop didn't end by that day. By the end of the day, it continued into the week. And I just want to report.
Prasad, we should charge more.
The next day I couldn't go to work because I didn't know what had hit me. I had a lot of stuff come up right in my throat, feeling like I'm going to throw up but not being able to throw up, feeling really sore and tired. And throughout the week, I kept dreaming. Me talking about dreaming. I kept dreaming of being in a surgery. So I would wake up in the middle of the night, like you wake up from a deep anesthesia, knowing that somebody has been working on you, and then going back into it and waking up several times. Having dreams of just having too many things and trying to just get rid of things. Dreams of being like kissed by a being, but it's like a reptile. The closest that I can come up to describing that being is like a reptile with no bones or something, and like their skin or their color or their patterns going all over my body. And I know it's not a coincidence, and I know it's not just a dream, and I know things are being worked on. It just feels like a major surgery. Yeah. And the whole week has felt like recovering from that surgery, being really physically tired, except for meditation or listening to a mantra, not being able to focus in life or really like give attention to daily routines. Just feeling like dazed.
Dazed and confused?
Yes.
Well, when it's over, if you feel lighter, then you know it was good. And if you don't feel lighter, then it probably isn't over.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the best description of guru, the closest analogy for guru is surgeon. So, because the guru has to remove all kinds of impediments in you. But you have to decondition, which is you removing the impediments in you, or one dimension of impediments. But surgery is the correct analogy, because it's a removal process, not an addition process. The guru isn't adding anything. The guru is removing whatever you don't need, whatever's been implanted, whatever's foreign, whatever's fake. Nothing can be removed from you that's essential. Only what's false and an add-on, that can be removed. So you never have to worry that you're going to lose something you need, because if you really have to have it, it can't be separated from you.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Feels uncomfortable, but feels right.
Well, that's a good way of holding it. Because how do you have any kind of surgery, or how does anything get removed comfortably? It's always uncomfortable. Why do all those garbage trucks come at 6:30 in the morning, so noisy, to come remove your garbage? Why can't they come at a normal time and not make all that noise needlessly? Everything in this world that involves removal is noisy and clattery and unpleasant. It doesn't work that way everywhere, but on this planet it does. It's a very messy planet. Messy, noisy, and full of crazy people. In other words, like any urban mass transit system.
Swamiji, Santa Maria has a question. Santa, could you go to the question, please?
It is a report that I do remember when you told me, like maybe 1 month ago, that I stopped in like studying or reading or this, what I'm doing in training. And Master, I felt that I felt that I had been prepared and training all this time in my existence here in this life. But now I totally feel that I'm embracing the learning of being more human, imperfect, and allowing that. And I want to tell you that when I'm doing my practice, my yoga practice, I feel like, wow, why I didn't do this before? Why I'm doing this now? And seeing myself practicing in the morning and in the evening diligently, like never before. And embracing the teachings, but at the same time, allowing myself being lost in the humanity and having the time for that. And I shared to Divina that I'm getting addicted to do my asanas in the evening and just put it the mat and throw it all my anxiety or desperation that I may feel, and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And it seems like also my physical body is having a reaction to that. and I feel a lot lighter. This is my report.
Okay. No reptiles involved?
No,
Okay.
you know what is involved? Only these romantic thoughts. That is are my reptiles. Yeah, this is how the ego triggers me, all these fantasies. But I welcome them. It's part of life. It's part of being imperfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I cured you of perfectionism.
Excuse me?
I apparently cured you of perfectionism.
No, it's not that.
No?
You had been no.
Okay.
Perfect, maybe.
Deny it if you will.
I don't know, but yeah. Yes, thank you.
Don't make me send my reptile assistant. Reptiles represent transcending the material level. Peace, equanimity, and not being caught up in the material mirage. There's a different consciousness in reptilian form. That consciousness is more naturally meditative, more naturally calm. So on the non-material level, reptilian forms are very significant. They represent the higher way. It's in a way the opposite of perfectionism. Only humans seek perfection. No other creature, no other life form, no other aspect of existence is concerned with perfection or perfecting itself or finding how to be more perfect. And if you love animals and you like a wide variety of animals and you watch lots of animals, if you watch reptiles compared to other animal species, it's easy to see how they are not involved with the urges and concerns that other creatures have in such a primary way. Reptiles are more solid in themselves. It's not that they're slower. They appear to us slower. But somebody sitting meditating for days at a time appears to us slow, like they're doing something slow. So even the animals, all the species, are involved with your human endeavor and your spiritual quest. If you really move significantly spiritually, if you get, like the stations of the cross, if you get to the primary stations of the spiritual path, you'll see further down that animals are involved. All life forms are involved, but animals have a particular role because of how humans are. Trees have a role, but they can't walk next to you, but an animal usually can. So there's a reason why animals matter in terms of the human journey. The promulgated idea comes from early Christianity and medieval Christianity, is that mankind has dominion over the animals, and the animals are kind of like the servants of man, or they're there for the benefit of human beings. That's the arrogance of human beings and the lack of perceptiveness. They're non-judgmental helpers. The further you go, the more you'll see that the involvement of animals is unavoidable. They are assisting you all along, but you don't know it. When you are further, when your consciousness is more open to things that right now you have been taught are outlandish and make no sense and couldn't be real, you'll see the significance of animals. It's not an accident that this planet is peopled with humans and endless varieties of other animals. Not just the mineral kingdom, not just the vegetable kingdom. Every planet, every universe doesn't have animals, but this one does. And there's a very metaphysical reason for it. The primary reason is metaphysical, not evolutionary, biological, or accidental. Animals are part of the divine plan for human beings on this planet. What happens when this planet disappears? I don't know, but until it does, animals are supporting you in your spiritual journey. They're assisting you in ways you'll never know until toward the end. Mir Baba says you've been every animal there is over the eons, and you've been every animal 1,000,000 times over. That means if there's 86,000 species of mosquitoes, you've been every single one. He also says you've been every kind of grass, every kind of tree, and every kind of stone. Well, I was every kind of stone in the 60s. So I don't have any trouble believing it. So open your mind. All I'm getting at is open your mind to possibilities that your conventional upbringing has closed you to. Remember, most sincere spiritual seekers weren't born in a vacuum, and they usually weren't born to a spiritual seeking family, most are born into conventional families who believe all the nonsense. And then you kind of find your way out. And even if you're born in a spiritual family, that tends to go the other direction. You become materialistic as a reaction. Gangaji has only one daughter, and she's a staunch conservative Republican. And she doesn't allow Gangaji and her husband to visit their kids except once per year supervised, because she doesn't want them being influenced towards spiritual life. How crazy is that? So even if you're born into a spiritual family, that's not an advantage necessarily. It can backfire. In some cases, it's an advantage. But most of us come from wacky families in terms of what they believe and what they consider real and don't. So you're as inculcated and brainwashed as everybody else. Don't assume that you're somehow a little freer of it because of what your early history might have been like. Don't assume because you were raised by nice people that you're not full of wacky ideas. Assume you are. That would be the wise approach. So just be open to possibilities that you cannot even try to imagine. And understand and know that that isn't theoretical. That's what's going on. Things that you cannot even fathom, comprehend, or hope to perceive. But that doesn't mean you can't participate on that level, on the level of actually being aware of it. But that requires a radical shift in consciousness where you actually become open for the first time. I know you think you're open. Consider that you're not. Consider that you're still stuck in you're still stuck in, at the very least, the framework of the conceptual. In other words, it doesn't matter what the concept is or what the conceptual, the text of the conceptual, just the fact that there's a framework of conceptualness means you're totally blinded, totally stuck in it, caught. So it's very difficult to imagine a non-conceptual experiencing of life, but that's where you're headed. The spiritual path is away from the conceptual and towards the actual. God's not a concept. Truth isn't conceptual. Truth isn't better facts. And only the acceptance of what lies beyond the conceptual, and for want of a better general way to put it, call it the unknown. Only the acceptance of the reality of that helps you let go more these silly notions that bind you, that you're not even aware of. They're mostly unconscious, but they absolutely constrict your view. So if you want to improve your vision, you have to get rid of your ideas. Ideas are the blocks. Only the Guru says, try to live without ideas. Try to see beyond ideas. Try to see something more real, more basic than ideas. Ideas is just the mental level. And you're not just a walking brain or a walking mind even. You're bigger than that. So the name for all of that, if you put it into one word, and I'll finish with that. You want to take a stab at it? There may be a prize. Somebody want to try to guess what the biggest name for that is? The most all-inclusive name. Oh, go ahead. No, that's their method. Bigger. In terms of your perception, you can perceive something more directly. What would be the name? If you got way far in that, what would you be perceiving? Other than God, directly. There'll be no wrong answer, but something more that has more meaning for human beings, more stunning.
Love.
Huh?
Love.
Anybody online want to try? No wrong answers.
Totality.
See how you want to try, Risa? I didn't hear.
She said in mine. Go ahead, Risa.
She read her lips. So see how it doesn't. No, this is good to see how it doesn't occur to you because you're so brainwashed that you don't believe in it. The correct word is miraculous. Be willing to encounter the miraculous. Be willing to become aware of the miraculous, because that's what surrounds you. Now, later, after death, way down the road after that, it'll always be some form of the miraculous that captures your perception until you become one with the real itself. And then even the miraculous is unnecessary. But look how you're spiritualized with every word other than miraculous or miracle. You're really, really set up to not perceive the miraculous nature of things. You can easily say, oh, I understand that everything is imbued with a divine nature, or I know that infinity is going on, or I know that the eternal is right here and now. But what's missing is the awe and wonder. What's missing is the effect. And for that, you have to become aware of the miraculous nature of all of it. So, be willing to perceive the miracles that are right under your nose.